playing the Bears at Soldier Field in Week 12, the day after my birthday.
Interesting. Well, happy early birthday. So, yeah, Chicago almost beat the Packers. They were a blocked field goal away from beating the Packers, which, I mean, on paper, the Packers should be way better than the Chicago Bears right now. Today's Monday, the 18th of November. It's late in the day, but I wouldn't have been surprised if I woke up at some point today and saw that the Bears had fired Matt Eberflus.
I think it's Brian Eberflus.
Brian? Oh, we need to look this up because I'm pretty confident.
I could be wrong too. I don't know.
It's Matt you're right. Eberflus. Brian's his eel twin.
Oh, all right.
But I wouldn't have been surprised if Eberflus got fired today. Friend of the show, Forrest, who will be on maybe potentially next week or the week after. We need to verify that with him. He's a Bears fan. Friend of the show, Forrest, told me a few weeks ago that the Bears don't typically fire coaches in the season. So even if they've already decided, like, yeah, this isn't going to work, Eberflus is out, maybe they just would keep rolling with him through the season. I don't know, but I wouldn't have been shocked if he had been fired this morning. He wasn't, which means he might still be fighting for his ever-loving life against the Vikings. Yeah. And when you have nothing to lose, you're the most scary. So, yeah, I don't know. The Vikings are currently favored, at least they were earlier in the day, by 3.5 points, which is not a ton. But to be the away team and still be favored, that's pretty nice. And the Vikings have a bad habit of letting other teams kind of stay in the game. So hopefully they don't let that bury them. But, yeah, all decent storylines to keep track of.
Yeah, for sure. I think some keys to victory. Sam Darnold has got to stay away from those turnovers.
Yeah.
And I think we were all kind of like, oh, no, here we go again with that kind of faux pas pitch to Aaron Jones at the beginning of this Titans game. And fortunately, and I think Dustin Baker tweeted about this, it didn't really mess the game up too much. It really wasn't that detrimental. And I even texted you. I'm like, well, there we go. The game's over. And you said, we'll forget about that fumble by the end of the game. And I didn't forget about it, but it didn't really matter at the end of the game. And that's a good thing. So hopefully we can say the same thing about this Bears game. Hopefully there aren't any turnovers. And if they are, they're kind of inconsequential. Like, well, it was fine. It ended up not being a big deal.
Yep.
And Vikings win, hopefully.
My key to victory, I guess this is specifically for this game, but definitely for the rest of the season here on out, because we're looking at playoff push now. They can't waste opportunities. They can't have the huge 45, 50-yard bomb to Jalen Naylor that just goes straight through his arms because he doesn't, go figure, an NFL wide receiver doesn't know how to catch a football. They can't have, like they did against, I think it was the Jaguars, they had that 3rd and 1 and they tried to get cute and pass it and ended up taking like a 7, 8, 9 yard sack. And
that was hard to watch.
Had to settle for a field goal. Like they just can't waste opportunities to lock down a game. And against a Bears team that is on the verge of firing everybody, maybe they've already made that decision in-house, they just haven't done it yet. You have to beat the Bears. If you don't beat the Bears, you don't have any point of trying to make the playoffs because you're not going to do anything anyways.
Yeah. I think the defense needs to really keep the pedal to the metal too.
Oh, yeah.
And I think this game against the Titans was kind of a wake-up call for that secondary.
Should be.
I think the secondary had been playing well enough up to the Titans game that everybody was like, oh, no, they're fine, they're good. And then, again, I think there were some flaws, some holes exposed in that secondary against the Titans. Mm-hmm. And that needs to be fixed. And you've got Caleb Williams, you've got Rome Odunze, you've got some weapons on that Bears team. And if you let them, they'll make some big plays on you. They're not the worst team in football. They're not the best team in football either. But they're certainly not the worst team in football. And they've proven that they can win games and they can move the ball. So it's going to take all three levels of defense, the line, the linebackers, and the secondary to put a stop to that. And I think Brian Flores, too, needs to really put the pedal to the metal and kind of go unhinged almost. Like you said, if you don't beat the Bears, then what are you doing?
Yeah.
And he was quoted saying this last week, well, if the opportunity's right, I'd be interested in being a head coach again. Like, well, if that's what you want, then start auditioning now.
And maybe he's auditioning for a Bears head coaching job. How much of a kick in the pants would that be?
That would stink. But I would understand. I would get it.
You are right, though. The Bears have shown that they can beat teams. Yeah. And Caleb Williams was drafted first overall for a reason. He was touted as the best prospect since Trevor Lawrence for a reason. The Bears are not an automatic beat, but the Vikings should beat them. On paper, they're better than the Bears in every aspect of the game. They absolutely should. It would be a gut-wrenching game if the Bears beat the Vikings. It would. I would almost say burn it all down. It doesn't matter anyways. But
you're kind of a hot and cold fan.
I very much am. But here's my official prediction. I think the Vikings, they're going to beat the Bears, but I think it's going to be a battle because the Vikings apparently can't play games that aren't battles, whether it's against the best team or the worst team. I think they're going to beat the Bears by 4 points, 28-24. And I think the Vikings get up to a decent lead and then coast and let the Bears come back, and eventually they tighten it up to win the game.
So I did not enter my prediction.
That's fine. You've been formulating your opinion over the course of the last hour and 10 minutes.
I have. I've come to a conclusion. Are you ready?
Are you going to... I'm ready. I'm ready.
I don't think the Vikings struggle with the Bears. I really don't. In fact, I think...
Are you going to do it, Ev? Are you going to say the score that you made fun of me for?
No, I'm not. It might be close. But I did want to get a reaction.
Yeah, no, that was awesome.
Which I did.
That's great.
I'm going to say Vikings 35-7.
Okay, that'd be a beatdown.
Yeah. I think the defense comes out and plays really well. They hold them to one touchdown. I think that one touchdown happens right away.
Okay.
And I think that's enough for Brian Flores to go back to the guys on the bench and say that can't happen again.
Yeah, we're not doing this again.
And I think Kevin O'Connell gets it figured out on offense. I think Justin Jefferson has a big day. I think Sam Darnold has a pretty decent day. I don't think there are any turnovers. I'm just going to say it. 35-7. Vikings win over the Bears.
I'm just going to look up really quick the weather forecast.
It's probably going to be like cold and rainy, which isn't going to be good for the Vikings at all.
As of right now, it says that the forecast in Chicago, because it's at Chicago, right?
It's at Chicago. It's a noon game.
At noon should be about 40-ish degrees with a 1% chance of rain.
All right. So cold, but probably not wet.
Technically, I would say perfect football weather.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not like we're saying, a downpour that's going to totally change the game or anything like that.
I think this game, kind of in contrary to what you've been saying, I don't think the Vikings stoop to the Bears level. Honestly, I think this could be the game that gets Eberflus fired. That'd be awesome to be sitting here next week saying, well, that happened. Eberflus got fired.
I tweeted 2 or 3 weeks ago that the Vikings' next 3 games, they could get 3 coaches fired. The Colts, they didn't get that Colts coach fired, which I'm not rooting for firings. It's just, that would be a storyline. Shane Steichen is that the Colts coach. Mm-hmm. He's still there. And then
Doug
Peterson, he's still there, although I'm kind of surprised.
Well, after the beatdown they took with the Lions, yeah. But that could still happen after this recording, so we'll see.
Technically. And then, Eberflus. I mean, I think Forrest has a good point there. I don't think the Bears typically fire their coach in season. So, maybe the decision's already been made. But, I don't know that it'll happen. I wouldn't be shocked either way, though.
Well, we'll have plenty to talk about. We always do.
Yep.
Next week.